Well, good morning and thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. It's a fresh week, it's the expiry week, and expect volatility. But first, what are world markets doing? Now, before we get to anything at all, I just want to draw your attention to one key statistic in dollar terms. Bitcoin, one Bitcoin is higher than 1 kilogram of gold. Let that sink in. This is the kind of madness that has happened. So 57,000 at nearly about 58,800 or thereabouts, or 58,200, whatever the number, Bitcoin would be higher than gold, 1 kilogram of gold. That is the kind of move that the cryptocurrencies had. Anyways, let's focus on equities. For all those who have Bitcoin, good luck to you. But let's focus on equities for a bit. There is this chart on the Bloomberg terminal which shows how commodities are running red hot. And the question mark around all of this is, if the index is about to eclipse the best month in 5 years, this is the Bloomberg Commodity Index. And if it's about to eclipse the best month in 5 years, then you got to ask yourself, is this a precursor to inflation? And if that were to happen, would rates go up? And if rates were to go up, would that be a death knell? Not a death knell really, but a corrective move, leading to a corrective move in equities. And will the markets fear that? So a lot of permutations and combinations really, but net, what is a reality is this, that commodities are on a tear. So let's wait and watch the impact on individual stocks as well within that universe, but this is a larger market implication too. However, how are markets slated to do today? The early Asian markets, ASX for example, started off marginally in the red, but the US futures are trading flat. So it'll be interesting to see how the Asian markets do throughout the course of the day and not just at the start. So for example, HSI is starting off okay. Kospi is trading near about the lowest point of the day. The SGX Nifty, which was indicating a slightly difficult start when the earliest morning cues came in. It'll be interesting to see what it is showing right now. Well, a flattish sign. So let's see. Maybe we'll have a start which is flattish in nature and then build up or go down depending on how the world markets do. But as I said, after a fairly volatile week and a fairly choppy week, the US futures are trading flat. So we may not have too many global cues in the session today. So what is the trade setup then? I would reckon that going into the expiry week, you have to expect volatility to be high. Not that India VIX is really terribly high. It's just 22.5, 23, but expect volatility to remain high. The current put base of 15,000 strike, maybe that will act as an immediate support for the index. Now, remains, right? I mean, these supports get vanished very quickly if indeed the markets were to head below 15,000. And then you look at the next base, which is maybe 14,800 as a support, what have you. But for now, the current put base of 15,000 seems to be a key support level. The good part from a bull's perspective is that for the last 4 sessions, the Bank Nifty's lost about 1,600 points already. So ahead of the expiry week, we've seen a corrective move come into the Bank Nifty already. Now, if we assume that the correction is not going to be deep, then you also assume that the Bank Nifty's done a large portion of its near corrective move. And if it stabilizes, then it's positive for the markets. Let's wait and watch if that happens. I would reckon that if the markets stay stable and don't move too much, and if the Bank Nifty also doesn't move too much, then you might start seeing traction in IT and pharma, because these stocks have seen a bit of a correction. Remember, pharma, much contrary to my expectations actually, had a really good week, had a really bad week, the last one. It corrected quite a bit. Amongst the top losers were the pharma names and large cap private banks. And if they are stable, which is the banks, then pharma might actually have a bit of a rebound move as well. So let's wait and watch what happens to some of those stocks. Our flows are a bit patchy though. FI just put in what? Less than 200 crores, 118 crores on Friday's session. The DI selling continues, that's okay. But the FI is bought only 118 crores. And that number is slowly turning down compared to the numbers that we were used to seeing back in November and December. Yes, at some point of time it would. I'm just saying that right now, those numbers seem to be a bit patchy. So if the markets are going to be flat, what would individual stocks do? That's the key question, isn't it? So there are 2 newsmakers today, viewers. 2 large newsmakers, let me put it that way. One of them is Jubilant FoodWorks. The other one is Ambuja. So both of those stocks remain in focus. Now with Jubilant, most brokerages are saying that yes, they have made the acquisition, but it's not a stock moving acquisition. So it does, even if it does well, it doesn't do anything to the upside estimates. If it doesn't do well, it doesn't do anything to the downside estimates for Jubilant FoodWorks. So Keep in mind, yes, there is news and noise around it, maybe not too stock moving. Ambuja is a different kettle of fish. I just want to bring out, while some brokerages said that it's not a great number, etc. I was just looking at this early morning brokerage conversations, and UBS, for example, says that they expect the stock to react positively to the Q4 results, but they have a sell with the target price of 190. Goldman Sachs has a buy with the target price of 320, and they believe that the risk reward is attractive on Ambuja because the valuations are much cheaper compared to an Ultratech and a Shree Cement, 13.5 times versus Ultratech 16 times or Shree Cement's 20 times. Morgan Stanley's has an overweighted target price of 325, and CLSA has raised the target price to 301 from a target price of 277. So very likely that Ambuja might actually react slightly positively today. If it does, yeah, some of the brokerages do believe that it has the legitimate right to do so. So watch out for Ambuja. Okay, what else? There is Marico, wherein there have been comments that have come in from the management, and the management has said that they expect to deliver volume growth in the mid-teens over the next couple of quarters. Consumer demand is showing strong revival. They have set itself revenue targets of 500 crores for the immunity business and the healthy foods business in FY22, and that's a large number for Marico. Immunity, it's not really the key buzzword for Marico. That's for companies like Dabur, etc. But Marico is trying its hand, and they've said that there can be pressure on margins in the near term over to higher input costs, but they'll return to the 19-20 EBITDA margin number by Q3 or thereabouts. That's what they've said. So in effect, they are laying out that you might see top line growth from Marico, but EBITDA numbers could be under a bit of pressure. How the market reacts to it remains to be seen. Suman Life is an interesting one. The board of directors have approved the issuance of 1.81 crore fully convertible warrants on a preferential basis to the promoter and the promoter group. Now, what we learn is that the price at which the warrants will be issued shall be determined later. But on social media, there have been a couple of people who've said that the warrant conversion or the price at which warrants are issued are close about current market price, 70, 80, whatever, what have you. And that is really great. Now, we haven't received any independent confirmation of the same, but so be it. But it's an interesting move by the promoters that they want to subscribe to warrants and they want to put in money into the company. So let's see if Suman Life reacts positively. The other one is Vardhman Textiles, wherein the promoter Vardhman Holdings has acquired about 10,000 shares. Remember, it's not a very large number, 10,000 shares for Vardhman Textiles, but this goes ahead with what the promoters have been doing the whole of November and December, so to say. Every single day, every second day, every third day, promoters used to put in money into Vardhman Textiles, or rather, not put in money into Vardhman Textiles, excuse me, buy shares of Vardhman Textiles from the open market, and that continues. So it's an interesting development. A lot of promoters are buying. Adani Green promoters are buying from the open market as well. But just because there is continuity when it comes to Vardhman, I thought it is important to bring it out. And then some stocks based on the delivery data at the price, which saw both price and volume action and high delivery percentages, include Jagran Prakashan, 51%, Reddington, or 46%, General Insurance Corporation. That stock continues to rise and shine. Now, I wonder why these insurance plays are up. But there's some news today in PTI that the government may consider Oriental Insurance or United India for privatization. Now, maybe that is something that is getting the insurance stocks a buzz, that valuations might get re-rated if one of the things gets privatized. Because if you look at General Insurance Corporation, it has been on a tear for the last few days and on fairly high delivery volumes. Maybe now you know why. KRBL was an interesting one too, up 8% on 31% delivery volume, so watch out for that. Last but not the least, what stood out for me, and this is something that a lot of private sector players are urging the government to do, instead of thinking about lockdowns. And yes, the situation is alarming because cases are rising, because arguably people like you and me and everybody who doesn't wear a mask are not being careful. But there is also merit in the argument that Azim Premji is trying to make, and I thought it was important, and therefore I bring it out. At a CII event, he told this to the FM, that there is a possibility that we can get the Serum Institute to supply vaccines at about 300 a shot, and hospitals and private nursing homes can administer this at a cost of 100 rupees per shot, which means that at 400 rupees a shot, it is possible to do mass vaccination of the population, should the government be willing to join hands with the private sector. Well, I'm sure the government knows this business, so I'm no one to advise the government on what to do. But if veterans like Azim Premji, Apollo Hospitals, etc. are saying this out, then maybe there is merit there. And I hope that some some solution to this, some to mass vaccination comes about, so that we don't have to stare at another lockdown, because boy, that's terrible for the economy. Anyways, we'll get to know about it when we get to know about it. For now, focus on trade. Maybe flattish day of trade. Individual stocks could do well. Watch out for IT and pharma. And yep, watch out for the PSUs. They are the center of all attraction right now. If PSUs do well, the sentiment stays positive. The PSUs don't, then sentiment turns negative, because a lot of people are now invested in the PSU stocks. So do watch out for the SBIs, BPCLs, Can Banks, and Concors of the world. Thanks so much for tuning in today, ladies and gentlemen, and have a great trading week ahead.